Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Working Together series, live from the Netiv Zoom room down in Houston, Texas. We're just waiting on Rabbi Ingber to arrive, and it's always a joy to have him. I just wanted to plug again and tell you about the chatbot on the Netiv website. That's at netivonline.org, netivonline.org, and they have this unique virtual Torah learning for Noahides. But the cool thing is this new Ask Noah chatbot. So if you have a question that you're just in your middle of your study, you're not clear on, you can type in a quick question, and it will spit you back an answer from a decent source, and at least give you something to run with in the middle of your study if you're doing that. Rod, we got you live on the air. Anything you can tell us about that chatbot so it's going well?
Well, yeah, it's going well. We just put the first sort of elements of it together. Good, solid, kosher information inside of it in the search engine. But the nice thing is now we'll be able to expand it so we can add sections of knowledge that people that are seekers would be looking for. We can plug that in there so they have a good
More, yeah,
source
yeah.
of information.
Well, it can only grow as you put more
Oh
into it,
yeah,
right? So.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, yeah, being an AI chatbot spits back the answer like instantly, which is great. And like I said, if you're reading a book and you're maybe not clear on a term, a Hebrew phrase, I find some of their phrases have deep theological meaning and in
Absolutely.
just a single word. And so, if you're unclear on that, you can drop that in there. It'll give you an answer per chance, and if it doesn't have it in its database, it will tell you it doesn't have it in its database. So
Right, right.
yeah.
It's not going to guess any
Right.
information and give it to you. So if it doesn't have in the database, it doesn't mean it's not there. I mean, it doesn't mean that there's no answer to it. It just doesn't have it in that database.
Right. So understand how the
So
tool functions, but
right,
as
right.
it begins to grow, it will be a more and more useful tool. But it does not replace a rabbi. The reality
No,
is
no,
having a
ever.
rabbi, somebody who actually can get to know who you are, and your approach to things will always be healthier for you. Somebody who can give you a Torah based response that's
Precisely.
yeah, going to answer your real inquiry, touch your soul, and
Yeah. Steve has something he wanted to ask or say. Steve?
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask? I hear it a lot from rabbis as they address the people in the synagogue. What does the word abatai mean? Abutai. I think it's abutai. That's what they always say. I couldn't find it through Shabbat. Maybe
Are
it's
you
just,
talking about Baruch Atah?
no, no. These I listen to a couple of rabbis, but when they speak to the people in the synagogue, they say abutai. They say abutai before they start the conversation. I think it means congregation or people or something.
I'm
But
having a hard time understanding the word because of the audio. It's
uh, a- yeah,
I
I
can
think
you type how it's spell how you think it is spelled?
I think. Oh yeah, did it come up? Oh, and I couldn't get it to Shabbat, Shabbat.org, because I don't know the correct spelling. But every time he's saying Abutai, Abutai, or like Abuti. I think it means congregation. If it was more Christian, not the word Christian, but the congregation would like whenever he speaks to the people in the synagogue, he says, "Oh, Abutai, Abutai." And I just wonder what that meant, but don't worry. It was just because you were talking about this robot spell thing. So, well, anyway, so we'll leave it there. Yeah? I'll let you get on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. We'll have to look it up. If you can ask next time for the rabbi or someone to write that down, because now you have my curiosity up. We have entering the room Rabbi Karmi Ingber.
Maybe he might know as well.
Okay, can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Hmm.
We're going to turn it over to you, Rabbi.
Recording
Okay.
in progress.
Okay, let me see if I can turn my screen again. I don't think I can for some reason. I am standing on my head, correct? Yes. Okay, give me 1 second just to set this up here because for some reason my phone is. Oh, I'll just hold it. Okay, hi, everybody. How are we all doing?
Good.
All right, good. I'm going to open it with some questions. Let's talk about, hear from you all, what questions you have, and then I will share with you some things that will relate to your questions and hopefully into the time that we're living in. As I said last week, is both happening on a global level, the world situation, and a particular level, which is the time of Tisha B'Av, the holiday. I'm gonna call it a holiday, even though it's a very difficult day in Jewish history. I will explain a little bit why it's a holiday, which will start tomorrow evening. And that's the day, as I mentioned before, where a lot of the Jewish tragedies have all started. The five listed in the Talmud: the destruction of the two temples, the return of the spies when they cried they didn't want to go to the land of Israel, destruction of both temples on the same day, the destruction of the city of Beitar, over 1 million people, the plowing over of the Temple Mount. In ancient times, in modern times, the Holocaust, the Spanish Inquisition, the exile from Spain, the destruction. There's a whole list I can give you. I've said it before of many things that happened this day. I'll try to explain to you what it's about. But let me open up first to hear your questions, what thoughts you have about the situation in the world, or anything else, and I'll try to tie it all together and make it make sense, God willing. All right, what do we got?
I've got a question if you want. What?
Please,
I've
Ron.
got. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
Stephen.
Okay, cheers. Why does Hashem perpetuate the same day with different? Excuse me for saying it without understanding suffering properly, because I've never gone through that. But why would Hashem perpetuate the same day concurrently with so many different events?
Great question. Great question. I will try to answer that. Very good question. Great question. And it's very important to understand it because one of the things I'm going to talk about here is, we're in the land of Israel, the Holy Land right now, and I don't know. You hear the news. Iran is playing this. Iran is playing that, and I imagine they are. And as we say in the prayers of Passover, we say in every generation there are groups of people that are trying to destroy us. Every single generation, not just the Holocaust, every single generation. And when behind the scenes, God is protecting us and saving us, and most of the time we never know. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes right now. You can't get any news. Israel doesn't tell you what they're doing. And you don't really know. But the word is that Iran wants to make an attack on Tisha B'Av, and I'm going to try to explain that too, what that means. So I'll get to that too.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from, I saw Dan. I have a question up. Ronald?
Yeah, I have one.
Shoot.
Is the resurrection of the dead when it happens just for Israel, or does it include the righteous Noachites?
That's a very good question. I will try to deal with that a little bit. It's really a discussion of what exactly happens in the resurrection of dead, which is a long discussion between Maimonides and Nachmanides. If the resurrection of the dead turns into the aspect of the world to come or not. I'll answer you briefly because it's a longer topic, but the concept of this, and this is very important to understand, because generally people will have, by definition, a wrong understanding of what they call heaven. And let me explain to you why. And this is one of the reasons why there's various reasons why the Torah doesn't discuss in great detail the afterlife. So much so that in Hollywood, which is a godless place, as we all know, but every time they talk about a Jew, the Jew goes, "We don't believe in heaven. We don't believe in hell." Idiot! Where do you think? Where do you think they got it from? Of course. What does that mean? Yes, the Christian idea of hell has been taken from Gehenna, has been turned into something that we don't say, as well as the concept of heaven. But it is one of the fundamental beliefs that you do not believe in the most basic tenets of Torah if you don't believe in reward and punishment. Reward and punishment for eternity. That makes no sense. Of course, that's the fundamental thing. So now, so if that's true, why does the Torah not discuss this concept of the world to come in greater detail? I mean, the Arabs have a whole discussion. The Christians have long discussions about it, and in the Torah, it's mentioned in various places. It's mentioned for sure. Okay, in Parshas Bechukosai, it says if you go with you, walk with Hashem, Hashem will walk with you. In the Garden of Eden, he'll walk with you. In the Gan, he'll walk with you. I will walk with you. In the book of Koheles, in the book of Shmuel, it says you'll be bound the bound of life. So there are various places where it mentions in short, in brevity, really, the concept of the world to come. And the question, therefore, is why is it not discussed more in detail? And there's various answers for it. One answer is because the more I try to explain to you a thing that is not physical, you will take your physical understanding of reality and superimpose it. So go look at the idea of the Muslims of their world to come. 72 virgins. Well, if a guy is a sheik, whatever you call him, and he has 72 wives in his harem, he doesn't really want to die, right? He doesn't want the world to come. He's got the world to come right here. So what happens is they make it the most physical. So that's not the world to come. It becomes a spiritual concept. And there's two fundamental problems that people don't understand that they really understand about the idea of world to come. First of all, two parts. There's a lot of problems, but two that I think are really crucial to understand. One is that we do not understand God in any way. That is the idea of the nations of the world. They create religions to explain God. That's not what we do. The Torah is God telling us how we should act, how he built the world and how we should act in his world. But we don't understand God. We understand how he relates to us, how he manifests. That's the various names of God, how he relates. So we understand God is compassionate. But if I take compassion in a certain way, then you say, oh, you know what? What's compassion? I walk down the street, I see a guy, God forbid, he has no hands, no legs, he's asking for money. I have to give him because I feel bad. I have to assuage my bad feeling. That means that I have needs. God has no needs. God relates to us, and we understand how he relates to us. So the first problem of people's idea of heaven is that it's static. What's heaven? It's this giant golf course. You get in there and you love it, and you sit there and it feels so good. It's like going to Trump's course, golf course. It's great. No, because God, we can't say the words endless. We have no concept. So every level it goes on forever. Infinity is a creation of God. It's beyond anything you'd imagine. So the first problem is that people's idea of heaven becomes a static, limited thing, and it becomes a physical thing. The second problem that people have, and this is the part I'm answering your question with, Ronald, is that there's a fundamental question of what happens. What is the experience of afterlife? Because When a person dies, their body goes into the ground and their soul goes into a different dimension. But if you think about it for a moment, anything that you've done good, if you're Jewish and the 13 commandments, if you're not Jewish, you've done the 7 commandments, who did it? Your body or your soul? The answer is both. So how could the soul get reward, the body to stay in the grave? That would be unjust. And therefore, there needs to be an element of, albeit a very transformed element, of the body that has some experience of eternity. That has to be, because otherwise it's unjust. And that's really the discussion I said before about Maimonides and Nachmanides, about what the world to come is and what the resurrection of the dead is. So the bottom line I'm going to get to today is, as we know, and I'm going to get into it because it's very complicated, but the argument between Maimonides and Nachmanides is very, very small if you really understand it, because everyone understands there has to be some level of, not the body as we know it today, but some level of the physical dimension that's elevated. And therefore, since we say a righteous, a Hasidic Umas Ha'olam, a righteous non-Jew is a portion of the world to come, that's talking about the world to come. Okay, so whether the whole discussion of resurrection of death depends a little bit on how Nachmanides and Maimonides learn it. But the bottom line is that the ultimate world to come is, according to everyone, some dimension of the resurrection, but not the way people understand it. People say resurrection of the dead, God comes back to life and he goes and gets a hamburger at McDonald's. It's not what it is. Or kosher McDonald's if he's Jewish. That's not what it is. The body's not the body like that. So these are very, very deep, deep things. So the bottom line is that there is reward for body and soul in an eternal way, but not the limited body. See, and this is very, very deep. You got to understand this. The reason why your body is the way it is now is because your body is concealing the soul level. If your body was ethereal, then you would never do anything wrong, ever. Now, where could I see this in the world? Well, I could see it in Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden. I told you many times, people read it like they're frolicking in the garden. That's not what it means. It's a spiritual dimension. But let's take it more later than Adam and Eve. Moses. Moshe goes, the Torah says he goes up to Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights to get the Torah, and he does not eat or drink. Now, that's a pretty good diet. Right? I mean, let's see if we can sell that one to people. You know, let's skip the keto diets. Let's go on the Moses diet. No one's doing that one because you can't, because we'd be dead. But he could. How could he? The answer is because his body started becoming elevated and transformed. And so the details of it, it's a complicated topic, and it's a discussion in my mind is Nachmanides, but I'm giving you the bottom line is that, as the sages tell us, Hasidim, the righteous of the nations of the world, have portion of the world to come, and that has to be a dimension that is not physical. It's not 72 virgins. It's not 31 wonderful flavors. It's beyond anything I can describe to you. And it goes on, it's experiencing God endlessly. I can't explain it, because the more I explain it, the worse it's going to get. But I give the people the example. I do this in my counseling with people. I do this, I get them into a relaxed state, and I have them imagine a time where they felt connected. A time where they felt like, sometimes you're on a starry night and you see a beautiful night sky and you just feel one with the world, a transcendental moment you may have had in your life. A child is born, whatever the moment is that you just felt, because most people have it for a second, a fleeting moment at least, something where they felt something beyond. Take that feeling and multiply it times 100. Multiply it times 1,000,000. Multiply it times infinity. That's the closest I can get to explaining it, because I can't. The world to come means experiencing God to whatever degree we can. That's what it means. What else? What else is there? You want to feel love? Okay, that's another term you're using for a manifestation of God in the world. That's what it really is. The world comes, it's an ability to experience God. And that's why you need to do good things. Because if a person, imagine someone who who's never tasted wine before. There's no good wine. I know people like that. They just they drink like I don't know, what's it called, the Ripple. They drink like $3 3 bottles of wine for $1.50. It's like terrible stuff. You give them a good bottle of wine, it's a dry wine. It's terrible. They haven't developed a sensitivity for it. If you don't live your life righteously, which is the 7 Noachide laws, or in Kedusha and holiness, which is the Jewish obligation, you have no connection to experience God. And as I once explained to you, one of the scariest things of the negative spiritual effects that a person who doesn't live life properly, one of the scariest, worst effects is a person who spends his whole life doing negative things. Example I give is, let's say the guy is, all he does all day is he loves to eat. That's all he does, nothing spiritual. All he does, he's just running around chasing after hamburgers. When he dies and his soul leaves, he goes to another dimension, but he created a consciousness that all he wants to do is eat hamburgers. But he knows he has no mouth. He can't eat hamburgers. It's the most painful experience. So we're creating, it's not that what we're doing here is, it's a very childish understanding you have of reward and punishment. You do a good thing, God gives you a prize. It's not that. The commandments that you do they develop the sensitivity to experience an afterlife. That's why you got to get it now. If your whole consciousness is I don't know, I mean, there's so much idiocy in the world today. I can go on forever. But if your whole consciousness is, I don't know, the Academy Awards and their diversity, equity, and inclusion, blah, 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 so that's your world. So then that's what you got. So you get into the world to come and want to experience something, and all you're trying to do is to explain DEI to some idiot or not. So that's my answer to you, Ron. I like that question. Very good. All right, what else we got? I see a couple hands up here.
Rabbi, I got a
Dan,
question.
you got something?
Yeah. Linda Hill on YouTube she's asked, in the time of the third temple, will Noahide be able to live in Israel?
I'm going to answer that one off the bat. Yes.
There you go.
A Noachide that accepts the laws, that becomes a Ger Toshav. A Ger Toshav is allowed to live in the land of Israel. And by the way, Linda, that's what has to happen right now with the Arabs here. It's very simple. It's the craziest thing in the world. There's one country where Arabs can vote in the entire Middle East. And it's in the state of Israel. They can't even vote anyplace else. They have no rights. The only place they have rights is to go where they're in the country that they're trying to fight against. It's the craziest thing in the world. So what should the law be? The law is you go to every Arab, you say, listen, you want to keep the 7 Noachide laws and you accept the Jewish sovereignty here, you could live here. Now you can live here, then we can help you live here. There's rules about how we have to take care of everyone who's not Jewish who lives in the land properly. And if you don't accept it, if you don't accept the 7 Noachide laws, you're a barbarian. If you don't accept Jewish sovereignty, get out. That's what it has to be. It's very, very fair. So the answer is yes. The answer is in the third temple, certainly a person who will accept the Noachide laws, even discussion today, what the factor would be of how to accept it. But a person that is it's called a Ger Toshav, a person that accepts the 7 Noachide laws and wants to live in the land is allowed to, and the special laws we have to help support him, help keep him, help sustain him. There are laws that God takes care of all of his creations. And this is the good news. Hashem loves all his creations. Jewish, not Jewish, male, female, black, white, all his creations. The famous story in the Talmud of Rebbe. Rebbe was a great tzaddik, great righteous person. And one day there was a butcher that was walking with a calf. And somehow this calf had some understanding. The mystics explain why. And the calf ran away from the butcher and put his head under this great rabbi's cloak, as if to hide. And the rabbi said, "Go, you were created for this. You're an animal, and whatever it is." And it says he had 13 years of tremendous suffering. Now, it really wasn't, because he did something really wrong. The sages say he was a complete tzaddik. He wanted to take on suffering for the people and for the world. Okay, but whatever it was, is he had 13 years of tremendous suffering. He had different scurvy, or he had kidney stones, different explanations, and he had really major. It says he used to go, when he used to relieve himself, he lived by the Kinneret, by the sea, I guess called Sea Galley in English, and they would hear they hear him screaming from one side of the sea to the other. But then it says, when after 13 years of this, his handmaiden saw a weasel that was running around like underneath the house, and she was chasing with a broom. And the rabbi said, "Leave it alone." Because the verse says Hashem is rachamav kol mas. Hashem is compassionate on all of his creatures, including the weasel. And at that moment, the suffering left him. He came to a new dimension of understanding Hashem's compassion for everyone. Now, again, you have to understand what it means, because there are animals that are harmful, and you're allowed to harm, kill a dangerous animal. I'm not saying no. But every single thing in the creation has a purpose. And that purpose is that God is created from his will. He wants the people. It even says that God does not, he does not want the death of the evil one. He wants the evil one to return. They should return and live. So you have to understand that. It's very important. Great. What else we got? I think Ayala has her hand up.
Hi, Rabbi. Good to see
Hi.
you. Thank
Good
you
to
for the
see
shiur.
you. We missed you in Israel here.
Oh, I miss Israel too. And you.
I saw Michael Kleiman today. Very happy to see you.
I know. We're so excited. A couple more months. That's it. By the end of the year, Bezrat Hashem, im yirtzeh Hashem. Bezrat Hashem. I have a question that aroused in me after the events of the Nova party and the Otef Azah settlement and all the death that we suffered there. I learned that when a Jew is being killed just because he's a Jew, it's called death on Kiddush Hashem, and his soul may go to the highest places in Gan Eden because he died on Kiddush Hashem. What about people who died because of sins they committed against Hashem and against Israel?
Well, again,
that makes sense how I ask it. So, for example,
I think I understand you're asking. I think what you're asking is that if they died through sanctifying God's name, they're killed because they're Jewish, but it was also because they did something wrong. Does that break the idea that they have this high level of reward? And the answer is
specific
no.
If they did something wrong against Israel and against Hashem, not just fall into sin.
But if they merited to die because they were Jewish, and that would be the atonement for it. That'd be atonement.
Okay.
I think I told you guys this story. This is an incredible story. I told you the story, I believe. This is an incredible story that happened during the October 7th situation. I think I told you, but I'll tell you again because it's an incredible story. It's really what Ayel is asking me here. There was a guy that was he was what's called Masorati. He kept the commandments. I don't know if he was a scholar. He wasn't a scholar, but he kind of kept the commandments. And what happened was he was a soldier. He was a policeman And he was off duty. It wasn't more. It was a guard, I think now, and he was in the area when this happened. He ran out, and when he heard what was happening, he was saving lives. He literally took his gun. He put his family in the bomb shelter. He could have hid. He didn't. He went out to save people, and he killed terrorists. And unfortunately, he was killed. Okay, and then what happened was his good friend came to the shiva. The shiva is the 7 days of mourning that Jews mourn for someone who passes away. Oh, they know. So then what happened was the best friend came over, who was also in the army with him in the past, and he missed his best friend. And he said to his wife, to this man's wife who just died, said, I wish I could see him again, The wife said, listen, he came to me in a dream last night, and I feel comforted. He came to me in a dream, and he talked to me, and I feel comforted. So the best friend said, I wish he'd come to me in a dream. Okay. He goes back that night, he goes to sleep, and the guy comes to him in a dream. And the friend says that this Jew that was killed during the massacre, saving Jewish lives, it was like old times. They were talking, and they were going they were driving around their Jeep, and they were talking. It was just great. They felt this camaraderie, and they were just best friends again. And he came to him in the dream. And every time they're talking, the Jew that was just killed starts saying something else to him, and he starts quoting stuff from the Torah that the friend's like, how does he know this stuff? Like I knew we were equals, like we knew a little bit, but all of a sudden he's quoting all these things, and he's telling them these incredible things from the Torah. And they're going on, they're traveling, they're hanging out together, but the deceased friend is sharing with him all these incredibly deep mystical insights of the Torah. At a certain point, the friend asks his deceased friend, he says to him, how do you know all this stuff? And he says, don't you understand? I am learning with Rabbi Yishmael. And the guy wakes up. He doesn't know what's going on. He runs to a rabbi. He tells him the story. And the rabbi says, well, who is this Rabbi Yishmael? Rabbi Yishmael was one of the 10 sages that were martyrs. And they were killed during the Roman persecution. And what happens is it says that if a Jew would be killed in the persecution of the people, then they go into this category with the others who gave their lives up for the Jewish people. And now he was learning with that great sage, who was teaching him Torah, who had been killed 2,000 years ago by the Romans. And he was sharing his Torah with them right now.
Right, but I'm asking about, for example, people who are doing illicit relationship and dancing.
I understood yes. I answered. I understood yes. Oh. I'm saying to you that if a person goes and dies that way, then it's a sign that Hashem is fixing him through this process. I understand what you're saying.
Sure. Okay, so I have another question about Israel.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So through different teachings that I've learned, we know that the Erev Rav are among us in Israel. I personally think that the state of Israel itself, the government and stuff, but my question is, how can we somewhat identify today who is Erev Rav among us and who is Jewish?
Okay, good. I hear the question. I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to tie it now to the original question I had from Stephen, and talk to you about a little bit about the Iran-Israel situation and the world situation right now. And I'll answer your question within that context. So the question that Stephen asked before was, he said, why would it be that every year every year, during certain times, the Jews have this day of Tisha B'Av, and all these negative things happen. What's the purpose of that? And I'm going to try to explain to you, and I'm also going to explain this in context of if Iran does try to do something on Tisha B'Av, what I think that means. Don't know if they will or they won't, but they probably are thinking of it. You know, the Arabs attacked us in Yom Kippur, they attacked some Simchas Torah now. They're probably thinking that. So now, it's very, very, very important to understand this. And this ties in what I said to you earlier. God moves all of reality for us to be able to learn our lessons and act correctly. That's the goal. God does not do things to hurt people. God forbid. It's absurd. That's the misreading of the Bible with the mistranslation of jealous God, Kel Kana. They don't understand what they're talking about. The way they misunderstand jealousy is creating entire religions, but it's wrong. If you're not jealous of your wife talking to other men and going here and going there, you got a problem because you're not in a real relationship. A relationship means that no, we are together. So when things happen in the world, they're in order to fix us up, to waking us up, to change, or the challenges that we go through themselves help wake us up. Now, the original idea of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, was that when the Jews left Egypt, they were in the desert. And the people asked Moses to send spies to the land of Israel, which Moshe accepted because it was a natural thing to do. How are we going to go and how should we approach things? We're not supposed to rely on miracles. Well, how are we supposed to approach this? So Moshe agreed to send the spies in. The spies came back. 2 of them said, greatest thing in the world, let's go. And the other 10, for various reasons, I'm not into right now, they said, no, we can't go. We can't make it. It's too hard. I'm not going to succeed. Too hard. Won't be successful there. Too much. And the people cried. And God said, I'm giving you the land of Israel. Now, the land of Israel is not about, even though it's a beautiful, beautiful land, it's not about the physical place. The word Yisrael is Yashar to Kel, to Hashem. It means straight to God. That's the word Israel. That's what it means. It means straight to God. And the land itself wakes you up to that because you see miracles. People are walking around. They know they heard the news. They're walking around that God's going to protect us and we should be zocha, and when God, decides, like in the Holocaust, that it's not the time, there's reasons. We know those. So when the people cried, they didn't want to go in the land of Israel. God said, I need to create in you the yearning to return to your roots, to return to the land of Israel, to return to the Torah, to return to me. And every time the year comes around, we get to the moment where we could have gone in and we balked. We hesitated. We said, can we? Is it too hard? Is it too much? God wakes us up again and says, you cried. You didn't want to go in. Now I want you to cry. You want to go in. You want to be there. It's a wake-up call. And so sometimes throughout history, we return to that moment, that potential moment, where did you want to go in or did you not want to go in? Did you cry for no reason? Do you yearn to get in? Do you realize that this is what I want for you? Are you not afraid? And we return to this moment generally every year. And every year, we get one step closer. And this is what the Iranians don't understand. Just like the evil Haman in the times of Purim, he was very happy when he drew the lots to kill the Jews. It fell in the month that Moshe died, in the month of Adar. He was very happy, but he didn't understand that the Jews were eternal. Moshe was born the same day he died. The death wasn't the end. Tying back to what Ronald asked before, death is not the end. We're eternal. If a person and if every nation in the world chooses, they could have a portion of this. So the Tisha B'Av is actually called a holiday, and it's going to turn into the greatest holiday in the future. It's going to be the time when the third temple is going to be built. So if the Iranians are thinking, oh, they found the bad day, no, there's no bad day. Because the day is only when a person gets like a problem, he sees it as there's a problem. I have no reason why there's a problem. But if you switch your mindset and you understand that the God's giving you the problem because he wants to give you the solution. He wants you to say, this is what I'm about. Don't get comfortable in America. Don't get comfortable in places that are not for you. And Jews are seeing that. You know, it's amazing Jews are coming to Israel now during this time. But they're looking at America and saying, wait a minute, do we have a place here? And the answer is, well, not really. I mean, you do in the sense that, you know, the holiness of Israel is going to spread out to the whole world eventually. But that's the reason why the 9th of Av is going to turn into a tremendous holiday, because it's not about the suffering. It's about the challenge that we're going through to fix up our negativity, to realize what we're missing, to ask for the cure, to ask to return. And that's why, if that's what they're planning, God willing, it will have no effect, because that day is, as all days are hidden inside of it, the root of the salvation is never about the plague. It's about the disease is to wake you up to get the cure. That's what's happening right now. And so, you know, Ayelet asked the question before about what's called the Erev Rav. I told you about that a lot because I unfortunately have to. I have to explain that often because it's hard to explain some of the ways that some of the left-wing Jews are acting in America. And I see it, you know, if Tucker Carlson, if you hear this, I'm happy to come on your show and explain it. The guy Tucker's looking and said, what is going on here? He doesn't understand it. He's right. And when President Trump says if a Jew would vote for the Democratic Party today, he has to have his head read. And everyone gets very upset. But he's right. He's 100% right. But he doesn't understand something. The reason why they do it is because these Jews are stuck in the problem of the mixed multitudes that came out of Egypt. When the Jews left Egypt, there were people that were not fully Jewish. They were mixed multitudes. They blended in with the Jews, and Moshe took them out and brought them into the Jewish people. But they're the ones that told the Jews to do the golden calf. And the ones today in the Jewish world who are anti the Jewish religion. And that's the ones that we see. Now, are these people, you know, are they going to have goodness in them? Yes, they do. I'm going to share something with you that I'm a little uncomfortable sharing with you, because I think it's the most politically incorrect thing I could say to Noachites. You'll excuse me. But I think it's true, and I know it's true, and I want you to understand it. So forgive me because it doesn't sound so nice, but it's true. It's important to understand a fundamental difference that is in the world that people need to understand. The Jews that are in this group of the mixed multitudes of the left-wing Jews and really people that are doing bad things. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a horrific person. I hate to say it, blocking the arms to Israel because of your stupid policies? I mean, what is this? I hate to say, these people are very confused, messed up, and there are quite a few. I don't have to give them all by names, but they're an embarrassment to us. But in the story of Bilam, the prophet of the nations of the world that happened a few weeks ago, he sees the Jewish people, he wants to curse them. And then he says, no, they're good. The sages say, who was he seeing? He wasn't seeing Moses. He wasn't seeing Joshua. He wasn't seeing the righteous Jews. He had no understanding of them. The same way, if I ask somebody in the world, in America, who is a Jew? So they're going to tell me Mark Zuckerberg. They're going to tell me Chuck Schumer. They're going to tell me this moron, this moron. How many they're going to say is going to say, I don't know. I don't want to say the name. Rav Belsky, any Rav, any great rabbi. Who's in it? They never heard of these people. So Belsky, my rabbi, said that. But there's millions, but they don't know them. They have no sight of them. Bill had no sight of them. He was going to curse this Erev Rav, the bad Jews, and then he saw deep inside of them. There was goodness inside of them, and that's it's true. And I want to share with you that even though I belittle them so much because of their terrible actions, but what's happened is throughout the generations, these negative Jews, the Einsteins of the world, and the whatever, the Jonas Salks of the world. Of course, I'm saying the people who have done tremendous goodness in the world, because we don't consider them, righteous Jews. But there's a place in them that throughout history, when the time came, they knew what they were about. Even crazy Chuck Schumer, who's sitting there making a cheeseburger on the 4th of July, that every non-Jew says, hey, this Jew doesn't want to make a cheeseburger. Even him, even this moron, he's a moron. Chuck, if you hear me, you're a moron. I can't say it more clearly. I love you, but you're a moron. You can come to my house. I'll bring you for Shabbos dinner. We're not serving cheeseburgers, and maybe you'll get your act together. But this guy would, because what happened was with these Jews, when they were put to the test, like in the times of the Inquisitions and the Crusades, they said to these same Jews that were disconnected, kiss the cross or die. They gave their lives up for God. It's the craziest thing. And this is what the sages say. They have an inner goodness that's covered in layers and layers. This is not true by all the nations of the world. The Ramchal, Moshe Chaim Latzato, says most people can get a portion in the world to come because most people have a goodness inside of them. And if a nations of the world, non-Jews, choose goodness, they'll have a portion in the world to come. But there is a Hitler. And there is a Iranian murderer. And there are terrorists. And those people do not have a portion in the world to come. And they can sell out all of their goodness. And that is a crucial difference. And I'm sharing with you because I know it's not politically correct, but it's important to understand, because there are laws about how to relate to a Jew, that a Jewish person has to say that another Jew, there's goodness inside him. He's not totally evil. The nations, the world, as the Ramchal says, mostly everyone can be purified to have a portion of the world to come. The Ramchal, the holy Moshe Chaim Latzato, the great Kabbalist, says very few are so thoroughly evil they can't be cleaned up. But there are some. There are some. Those are the terrorists. Those are not the people, the confused Jews like Chuck Schumer or this guy or that guy, or even in the Israeli government. The Israeli government has these mixed multitudes. these guys are bad, but they have these they think they're doing the best thing in the world. They say, how can we kill the Palestinians? So we have to make peace. Yeah, I want to make peace with them, but the guy's a terrorist. You can't. So they're taking a value system and they're putting it in the wrong place. And that's why it's amazing. Most of the evil Jews today, their philosophy is what they think they're espousing good. Let's talk about our old friend who the Talmud says is a fool, Bernie Sanders. The Talmud calls him a fool. I didn't make this up. The Talmud says, whoever says, yours is mine and mine is yours is an ignoramus, is a fool. Bernie, you are a fool, but I still love you, but you're an idiot. Why? Because he thinks he's doing good. Most of these bad Jews think they're doing good. They're trying to get the underdog. So that's the answer to the question I yelled. The answer is the Erev Rav will be fixed up. Most of the nations of the world have this goodness. The sages say they'll be Gerim Grurim. In the end, they will all want to go and to establish and to connect to God. And that's what this class is about. Everyone has the opportunity. Everyone should do it. But there will be a few evil people that when they say, wait a minute, the Jews are the chosen people, you tell me they all have good inside of them, even this jerk, that gets them so angry that they become terrorists and they sell out their entire goodness. That was Bilam. And that's the terrorists. Those people, no, those people must be taken out because they sold themselves out. Okay. Questions, ideas, comments? That was a mouthful. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a day. What time is it? Oh, I have time for one or two questions. If anyone has a question or two.
Rabbi,
but if not, it's okay. We said a lot today. What?
We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. So the bottom line I just want to give you a last thought is just to be strengthened here that and it's tied I love this when the questions all tied together, how Ronald started the question, and it really ties into what we're saying in the end. The reality is that as the Ramchal says, most people have a goodness and they could choose to be good and they'll have a portion of the world to come. There are those that get very upset and they make the Jewish people and God their enemy. And that is a very, very bad mistake. And there are people in the world, the nations of the world, there are some people that have sold that out. Those people you cannot negotiate with. You can't. You cannot. And it's crazy that the foolish Jews here, that's what they do. The sages tell us that the person who is, listen to this, the person who is kind to cruel people will end up being cruel to kind people. And that's what the mixed multitudes here are doing in Israel or in America. They're trying to say, Chuck Schumer, hey, too many civilian casualties. What? What are you talking about? I'm American. Ronald, you're Australian. I know Australia doesn't fight too much. You're got your own little area there. America seems to fight a lot, although Donald Trump was the only guy not to get us into a war. But as a proud American, if somebody started lobbing missiles in from Mexico, everyone knows what America would do. Just flatten the place. Oh, civilian casualties. Yeah, but you started attacking me. Here you have a situation where they're attacking. So some of these Jews are like, no, we have to defend the terrorists. That you can't do. Person needs to understand there's good in the world, and if somebody chooses evil, that's their choice. Hashem waits for everyone to return. Everyone to return. And if a person wants to, the signs are there. This holiday time that we're coming up to, Tisha B'Av, is a time where the Jews cried in the desert. They were afraid to go to the land of Israel. And every year, when it says a person mourns for Jerusalem, those who mourn for Jerusalem will merit to see its rebuilding. If you don't understand you're missing something, and value it, then how do you get it? I'll end with this story. There's a story. There's secular Jews in Israel. It's unfortunate, but there's secular Jews in the land of Israel. So there's a story of these two soldiers. There were secular Jews in 1967 when the Jews won back our land portion of part of our land in Jerusalem. And the Jews started coming to the Western Wall. They were crying because the Western Wall was the remnant. It's the wall that surrounds the mountain where the Holy Temple stood. This first and second temple and the third temple will be there. It's the place where Abraham offered up Isaac. It's the place where Jacob had his dream of the ladder. It's the holiest spot where the heavens kiss the earth. And the Jews were coming in throngs to the Western Wall. They were crying. So there was a secular Israeli guy there, a soldier. He said to his friend, because what are they crying about? So the other guy said, I don't know. So then the second soldier looks back at the first and sees he's crying too. He says to him, why are you crying? He said, I'm crying because I look at all these people and they're crying and they're distraught and I don't even know what they're crying about. I don't even know what I'm missing. So the people who are in Jerusalem right now, we sit on the floor on Tisha B'Av, we say we want Jerusalem. And that's what we do. We sit on the floor and we cry and we say we want Jerusalem, Hashem, we want Jerusalem. And that's what all the holy Jews are going to be doing. And then God says, you want it. And I'm going to give it back to you. And he is. It's already happened. Stephen, do you understand? It's already happened. He's bringing us back 2,000 years. You go tell someone 500 years ago the Jews were going to be in the land of Israel. What? It was desolate. There were no Palestinians. There are no Palestinians. They were nomadic Arabs who were going through, poor Arabs going through the city, the country, because the place was desolate. It's a verse in the Torah. It says in the curses, when God shall exile you, it says the enemies will not find salvation in your land. Now everybody wants Israel because it's beautiful. Nobody wanted it 100 years. They wanted it because it was symbolic. But they didn't live here. Now the land is giving its fruits, and now it's beautiful. Because God's giving it back to us. Because every year we understand what we're missing, and we're one step closer. And this year may be the final year. But I want to tell you something. I'm going to end with this point. If the Mashiach comes this Tisha B'Av, or next, or today, tomorrow, I don't know. Nobody knows. But I know for sure that he is coming one step closer this Tisha B'Av. Whether this is the final one and we're all going to be building the base of Mikdash, the temple, I don't know. But I know for sure on one level, it is happening this year because it always happens. Every Tisha B'Av, we are fulfilling the rectification and we're one step closer to that and it's happening and you could feel it. Now you see it on a global level. Oh, we're back in Jerusalem. Oh, we're back in Israel. Oh, the enemies are still surrounding us. God's saying, call out to me. And that's what the Jews are doing. They call out, they got the blessing to pray and to call out to God, and God willing, Hashem will answer us and will do wonders and miracles for us, and the enemies will not be able to have a hand in Jerusalem anymore or the land of Israel. And when that happens, it'll bring salvation for the whole world. And I encourage everyone amongst the nations to be a part of this. Hashem loves all of his creations, and it's going to be glorious. All the best.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rod,
Bye-bye.
you got any final words you want to add?
No, we're on for tomorrow night. Rabbi Zvi Avner is going to be talking about aspects of Mashiach and misconceptions, so it should be really interesting. 7 p.m. tomorrow. Shalom, shalom, guys. We'll see.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I didn't get to ask the
Thank
Rabbi
you
if we were
all.
on for next week.
Yeah, we're on for next week. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. All right, folks. So
All
we
the
will be
best.
back with
Thank you.
more of our Working Together series next week, same time. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Bring a prepared question just in case the rabbi's taking them at the beginning. Always helps, makes the class that much more interesting. You get to hear what you're looking for, and we get to hear it from a reliable Torah source. So till next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Shalom, shalom.
Bye-bye.